Well, good morning, everyone. Happy April. Thank you for being with us here today. And I want to first start by talking about the storms that came through our area over, well, it was Sunday night, as well as what weather we have, weather we're expecting for the rest of the week. I first want to talk to our friends and neighbors in Fairdale. Yesterday, along with EMA Director Jody Myman, had an opportunity to visit with some individuals who were impacted by the tornado that came through our city on Sunday night, and talked to some of the impacted neighbors in Fairdale. Fortunately, there was no serious injury to any individuals, although certainly there was a significant amount of property damage in a limited area in the heart of Fairdale, particularly related to some trees that were down, some sheds that were blown, roofs that were impacted, a couple of homes as well impacted as well. So I'm glad that the recovery has begun. We have folks out there today that will be contacting individuals to see if we can help them with any federal assistance. But unfortunately, we're not out of the woods yet, because there is some potential for some severe weather beginning tomorrow night and for later this week. And all types of severe weather are in play, including damaging winds and flooding and possibly more. Jody's going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We will open up the Emergency Operations Center tomorrow afternoon in preparation for the severe weather that we are expecting tomorrow evening, and we will stay there as long as necessary. So I want to again reiterate, to speak to everyone in the entire city to please be prepared. Please make sure you know where your flashlights are, that your phones are fully charged before a weather event is expected. And importantly, please sign up for Lens Alert. That's 67283. I just want to briefly remind everybody about the various types of warnings that we have across the county for severe weather situations. First, of course, are sirens. The sirens went off on Sunday evening, as they are supposed to. The sirens are intended for folks that are outside. Now, many people like myself, I was at home on Sunday night, and I was able to hear those sirens. Many people can hear them inside the homes, but they are designed to be outdoor warning systems. The best way to get those same alerts is by signing up to Lens Alert at 67283, and then on your phone, you will get those with specificity about what the warning is via Lens Alert directly to your phone. Additionally, there's something called iPause. iPause is from the National Weather Service. It's a national system that is more localized, and that you don't have to sign up for. But if you are in the area where there is a targeted warning, you get an alert and a sound directly to your phone. So, for example, where the tornado was on Sunday evening in Fairdale, those individuals around there should have been getting directly to their phone this iPause alert that is forced to the phone. Jody was driving to the heart of the storm during it while it was going on, and when he crossed a certain geographic area, his phone immediately got that iPause alert, because with geo-fencing, he was in that area that was getting it. So again, there are outdoor sirens. People can sign up for Lens Alert, and then there's also the iPause system. I was talking to friends in Fairdale yesterday, and they were telling me one of the women whose home was probably most impacted in all of Fairdale. She was looking for, the flashlight and making sure they had the right batteries. You want to be prepared and have that ahead of time. So please have a severe weather plan and supplies ready. And especially with heavy flooding projected for later in this week with the heavy storms, be very careful if you're out and about driving, whether it's during the storm or after. You do not want to drive or walk into flood waters. Turn around. Turn around if you see anything that looks out of the norm with respect to water level risings. And finally, just a final thanks to everyone, to meteorologists to help us predict this weather, to the LG&E crews that are out there that worked incredibly quickly overnight on Sunday night to get people back with power, to our first responders, to everyone involved, a giant thank you. And one of those individuals that will work at whatever hour of the day it's severe weather happens is our Executive Director of Emergency Management, and that's Jody Myman, who's going to talk a little bit more about what to expect for the rest of the week. Jody? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to reiterate and go back a little bit on what happened Sunday night, we've got a team of folks out now doing damage surveys. So they're primarily focusing again on that Fairdale area. But if someone in Jefferson County has damage to their homes or property due to the storms that came in Sunday, they need to call 311 so that we can get out. Do that damage survey for your property and get that into the state system again, so we can potentially try to get any kind of assistance for you. Debris management, we're working with Louisville Metro Public Works about, developing debris management. Every area in the city is going to get an area for drop off. But, what I'm getting ready to talk about here in just a second is we're going to be getting multiple rounds of severe weather, including some, several inches of rain. So, instead of doing several different drop-off locations through the week, we're going to kind of see how this works out through the week and offer that again to several locations throughout Jefferson County. So pay attention to that. One of the things that we encourage is, especially after the storm that happened on Sunday night, the storms that are potentially coming in tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, make sure that you're cleaning up your debris, because we don't want to affect any of the natural water streams from clogging and causing some additional problems to roads or other things that may be affected if you don't actually get out and clean that up. So make sure you're taking care of your properties, and again, listen to the announcements that's coming from the city and the mayor about where those debris drop-off locations are going to be at. We've also got some in floodplains that we're having to look at to get other locations, because obviously with the rain that's coming in, that may not be an option for us as well. So again, starting tomorrow night, Wednesday evening, it's looking, potentially like some of the same weather that we had the other night. Overnight into the morning on Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon. This is a multiple round event. That it's been a long time since the city's faced anything like this, the state's faced anything like this. But one of the main things that we're really concerned about is the rain and the amount of water that we're going to get. Right now we're in the 8 to 10 section, according to the National Weather Service's most updated slides that came out this morning, but we're right on the border of the 10 to 15. So that's going to be very impactful for the area. So make sure that you're preparing now, not only for severe weather, but also for some flooding events. If you lose power, your sump pump's not going to work. You need to have a backup plan on potentially how to get water out of your basement. So these are things that could affect us in several different ways. And again, like the mayor said, be prepared now. Simple things like finding batteries for your flashlights and knowing where you can go if you lose power. And again, generator safety. If you use a generator, don't use it near doors or windows so you don't get carbon monoxide in your building. So there's several different things that's going to come up. Sign up for Lens Alert, like he said. Like the mayor said, that's the biggest thing and the best way to get emergency alerts. And then again, if we have to use the integrated public alert and warning system, or what's known as IPAWS, we can initiate that, as well as the National Weather Service can initiate it as well. So pay attention. This is a serious issue that we're coming into for the next 4 or 5 days. But prepare now, and that's the biggest thing that we want to emphasize to the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. Maybe we'll just do something a little bit. We'll stop there for 1 second. If there are questions about weather, we'll take that before we get on to our main topic today, which we want to talk about housing and some of the great things that are happening with Louisville Metro Housing Authority. But does anyone have weather-related questions? Yeah, Paul.
With all the rain that's coming in, all the rain we've had, is there a concern that this is going to affect waterfront parks, viewing area, the Thunder over Louisville?
We hope not. What happens if something, Jody, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically when we have large rain events like this, that isn't the direct cause of the river flooding. That usually is based on a lot of weather events that are happening to the east and north of here, upriver, that then impact us. So I'm not sure what the weather is up there, but I've not heard of any river rising. Have you?
No. Well, okay. We'll have to really watch to see how this affects, and then to see what the predictions are and where the river actually ends up. So we're in constant contact with Matt Gibson and the Kentucky Derby Festival. We actually have a big planning meeting this afternoon, so that's going to be one of the top discussions. And unfortunately, we've been through this before, so they've got a good plan on how to mitigate and how to eliminate, the public from getting in to encounter some of that river flooding if it does happen.
That, by the way, for everyone's, that's April 12th, so a week from Saturday night is Thunder over Louisville. We'll kick off Derby festivities. Yes.
When we saw some of that flooding back in February from the Ohio and whatnot, is there any attention that's being paid to some of those areas like Breckenridge Road that saw some of that flooding to maybe try to prevent that from this spring?
Yeah, so we live in a challenging environment where there are certain areas that are more prone to flooding than others, particularly around, for example, also around Beargrass Creek. There are a lot of areas that are flooding in there. Certainly in Cherokee Park was flooded last time as well. So there are low-lying areas, and we just want to encourage neighbors. They typically know where those areas are to be clear. Every rain event and flood event is a little bit different, so we don't know exactly where it will be occur. That's why we are always stressing. You all who hear us talk about this a lot might think that we're just saying the same thing over and over again, but we want to be sure people hear to, if you see rising water, to be safe. Don't try to drive through it. There are some roadways, some underpasses where flood waters do occasionally get. Do not try to pass through those areas.
Need for any flood walls to be put up or anything like
No,
that?
we're not expecting at this point. But again, as Jody just said, we'll continue to work with the Army Corps of Engineer. We'll be monitoring river levels. At this point, we don't expect anything with the Ohio River flood walls to go in. Anything else weather related? All right, great. Well, thank you very much, Jody. You'll probably be hearing a lot from the two of us over the coming days as we get ready for tomorrow's big weather event again. But the main subject that we wanted to talk about today is some really great progress, some incredible positive progress. It's a sign of the positive momentum we're seeing around the entire community. And that relates to LMHA and housing. It is my firm belief that every person in every corner of this community deserves access to safe, quality, and affordable housing. It's the foundation for everything else in a family's life. In Louisville, we need more housing of every type. We need more single-family homes. We need more apartments. We need more duplexes. We need more condominiums. We need them all, and we need them all across the city, in every single neighborhood in Louisville, not just in other people's neighborhoods. And that's why housing has been one of my administration's top priority since I first became mayor. And that's why we created the My Louisville Home Plan, which is a very bold plan to work to build and renovate 15,000 affordable new housing units over the course of the coming years. And so far, I'm proud to report that we've created 5,000 new units of affordable housing in Louisville. And this past week was a great example of the positive momentum that we have in this area, where we celebrated the opening of two new affordable housing developments, one in Dixie Highway, off of Dixie Highway, and one right off of Preston Highway. Both not just provide housing, but also provide support services to individuals who are in need to help them get a new path in life. And we also had another great announcement last week, where we announced the new apartments that are going to be built just next to Lynn Family Stadium as we begin to create an entirely new residential neighborhood, a mixed-use neighborhood around the soccer stadium in Butchertown, connecting to downtown. They're going to go alongside with the new housing units that will be built just east of Slugger Field. There is so much momentum in building more housing in downtown and in all parts of our community, as last week just exemplified. Construction is also underway right now at the Community Care Campus, which is already providing emergency shelter to families in need. We're getting ready to open the Chancery, which is another permanent supportive housing development in Smoketown. We have our lien waiver forgiveness program that is working to help convert vacant and abandoned properties into new for-sale affordable housing units to help revitalize neighborhoods and provide generational wealth creation opportunities for families. We're getting ready to announce the first recipients in our downtown building conversion fund, which will help us convert vacant buildings downtown into new residential units. And moving forward, thanks to the Kentucky General Assembly and some new laws that they passed just in the past few weeks, there are new incentives to build more housing in our urban core, and they've removed some of the challenging barriers that have existed to building housing in our community. Our goals are ambitious, but that's what we need here. That's what we need to build thousands and thousands of new homes for more families all across our city so that every family has a solid foundation for life. And we can't really talk about housing and making progress in housing without talking about Louisville Metro Housing Authority and without making progress in that area as well. It has been just over a year since I hired Elizabeth Strojan as the new executive director of LMHA. And she stepped into a situation where LMHA was overseeing residents in unacceptable, and inhumane living conditions. But it's been even clearer than ever. It becomes more clear by the month that we have the right person leading LMHA right now. And under her leadership, incredible progress is underway at LMHA. There is still a lot of work ahead for us all. So today, to provide some updates on what LMHA has been doing and is going to be doing over the coming months and years, I'd like to welcome our leader of LMHA, Elizabeth Strojan. Elizabeth?
Good morning, everybody. It's still morning, right? Yep, great. Thank you, Mayor Greenberg, for your leadership on affordable housing. I have learned that it is not always easy to stand up for affordable housing, but it is essential to the well-being of our city. Just over a year ago, I stepped into this role as Executive Director of LMHA with a deep sense of purpose and responsibility. LMHA has been a cornerstone of affordable housing in Louisville, serving more than 30,000 people. For years, LMHA was known nationally as a high-performing agency, one that innovates and sets the bar for public housing authorities across the country. But let's be honest, in recent years, we haven't been where we need to be. Some of our public housing properties were in conditions that were simply unacceptable. At the same time, policy changes at both the federal and local levels shifted many of our senior designated properties to mixed populations with a 100% homeless preference, without the critical wraparound services to support that transition. That left many of our residents in incredibly vulnerable situations, and we couldn't turn a blind eye. On top of that, our Section 8 program was struggling. Thousands of recertifications were late or incorrectly filed. Compliance was a major issue, and both landlords and tenants were left frustrated and uncertain. Inside LMHA, there wasn't a clear, unified vision to tackle these deep-rooted challenges, and staff morale suffered. And I'm looking at the team here. Is that right? When residents felt unheard, they turned to you all in the media. And too often, LMHA was in the news for all the wrong reasons. The task of turning LMHA around can feel overwhelming, but today I stand here with a renewed sense of optimism because we have taken bold steps to turn things around. First, we are transforming public housing. As outlined in our 2025 strategic plan, we're reinvesting in properties like Dosker Manor, Avenue Plaza, and Parkway Place. And this isn't just about fixing buildings. It's about creating communities where people are proud to live. You can find our full strategic plan on our website, lmha1.org, but I think everybody's read that cover to cover. Is that right? Okay, great. Second, we're strengthening housing assistance and community programming. LMHA now administers more than 11,600 housing choice vouchers, and we're making the program more efficient, transparent, and responsive to the people it serves. We're bringing in much-needed social service support for some of our most vulnerable residents and making sure our staff are trained in trauma-informed care. We're also modernizing LMHA for the future, from launching a new online resident portal to consolidating and relocating our headquarters downtown. We're making services more accessible and positioning LMHA to meet the evolving needs of our communities. And one of the initiatives that I'm proudest of is the relocation of Dosker Manor residents. I'm not proud that it had to come to that. I'm proud of the program that we've built and the team that we've assembled. We have 3 of our housing navigators here to help residents make that transition. Since June of 2024, 233 residents have successfully transitioned from Dosker. Today, Dosker Manor is 50% vacant as we continue working with urgency toward better housing solutions for the remaining residents there. None of this has been easy. Just as LMHA didn't get into this shape overnight, our recent progress hasn't happened overnight. It has taken dedication from our team, an honest look at where we've fallen short, and a commitment to doing better for the people we serve. We still have a lot of work ahead of us. But today, I'm proud of how far we've come. LMHA is moving forward, and we are just getting started. Now, speaking of new beginnings, I'd like to welcome the real star of the show, Miss Betty Miller, one of the many former Dosker Manor residents who have successfully relocated. She's here to share a few remarks about her experiences. Betty, you want to come up?
Hello, everybody. First, I want to thank God, Miss Elizabeth, and my Section 8 crew for helping me get where I'm at today. I lived in Manor for 15 years. It was hard, but I dealt with it because God told me to. He had something better for me. My family wouldn't come around me, but now they do. I feel like where I'm at home. I'm peaceful. I don't have to worry about nothing, let my family come in without scared they would go see this or that, or having to, things go wrong for them. Just like Sunday, my family never came around me, but Sunday, I fixed dinner. My daughter-in-law, my grandkids, they all came and ate with me, and that made me feel good. But in Manor, it was just too much to bear, but like I said, I dealt with it because God told me he was going to change it for me. And I just want to let you know that everything that has happened for me, I'm just grateful, I'm peaceful, and I feel at home. The place that I'm in, it's like my mother's home. And I feel like I'm sitting there with my mama sometime, enjoying looking at TV, talking. Where when I was at Manor, I didn't feel like it. So all I got to just say is just thank everybody for everything you done for me. And God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you very much, Ms. Miller, for sharing your story. Elizabeth would be happy to answer any questions during question time as well about LMHA. But before we get to questions, it is spring break here in Louisville, and JCPS and other schools are out this week. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful spring break week and enjoying some dry weather before the wet weather comes. But I just wanted to remind everybody that at Louisville Metro Government, there are options available for folks if they're looking for some things for their children to do during this week if you are home. Last week, we announced that the Louisville Free Public Library would be hosting over 100 free programs for youth during this spring break week. And there are still plenty of opportunities from the rest of the week, particularly if we're going to have rainy weather and folks are looking for indoor activities. These activities include reading, gaming, movies, and more. So you can find all the information about these spring break activities at lfpl.org, for LouisvilleFreePublicLibrary.org. And also, today or tomorrow before the rain comes, we have 120 beautiful parks all around our community that I encourage people to explore. There were so many kids out and about in Alberta Jones Park over the weekend when we celebrated Earth Fest. But our Parks Department also has some spring break camps that are underway at community centers throughout the city. Some are sold out, but you can still sign up for some spots that are still available. And at other community centers, California, Newburgh, Park Hill, Shawnee, Southwick, and South Louisville, there are free programs that are available all week long at those community centers, including arts and crafts programming, pickleball, basketball, computer games, and more. They're set up every day through Friday, 11 to 5, so encourage people to look online or to go out to your nearest community center for some of those great activities. And finally, the Louisville Zoo also has some camps that are very popular and underway. But if you don't want to commit to an entire camp, I encourage you to go out there for a day as well and spend the day out there with your family and some of your kids' friends. They also have their Safari Egg Venture scavenger hunt, which is going on now through April 20th. So some really unique programming out at the Louisville Zoo during this spring break week as well. So I hope everyone across Louisville, students, parents, grandparents, guardians, aunts, uncles, everybody has a wonderful spring break week, staying active and involved, safe and healthy during this week. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you have, and I believe Elizabeth or Jody is also happy to take questions if you have more for them.
The state legislature did not pass a statewide street racing bill this year that would have beefed up the law to crack down on street racers. What is your reaction to not seeing that passed?
Well, there are a lot of areas. You can't get everything that you ask for. But we certainly are going to continue advocating for more tools to help us continue to crack down on illegal street racing. I'm incredibly proud of the work that LMPD has done to date with the tools that we do have available and the commitment that we've made to cracking down on this illegal street racing in our community. I'm hopeful that in the next session they do pass this legislation. It was making some movement earlier with bipartisan support from Representative Nemes and Representative Chester Burton. We'll try again next session.
Yes, Rebecca. With the federal funding freezes, the cancellation of some programs, some grants. How has that impacted Louisville Metro government specifically?
So the question was about the impact of federal funding freezes or revocations, and how does that impact Louisville Metro government? This is an area of significant concern for me and all of my colleagues at Louisville Metro government. And right now, it's more question marks than anything. There is one grant that I'm available that we don't believe we will be receiving related to electric vehicle chargers that we thought we were getting. There have also been some other smaller grants that not necessarily to Metro government, but to other partners that have also received notice that those grants have been canceled. But there's not been any significantly large impact across the board. One of the areas, for example, is LMHA. There's certainly concern that the federal government is going to change its funding to HUD, which directly impacts the support that LMHA can provide to our residents like Miss Miller. And so far that has not happened, but it's certainly on our radar screen that we're watching every day. I'm having conversations with mayors around the country to continue to advocate for continued, or in some cases enhanced, funding for areas like affordable housing where it's necessary, and other important areas where we need the federal support to have strong and safe cities. So we'll continue advocating for that. We will continue monitoring. Our legal teams are staying up to date on all of the latest changes and executive orders coming out of Washington. But fortunately, so far, beyond a couple of specific instances, there has not been any across the board. But things happen quickly, and so we'll continue to monitor that.
And just one quick follow-up. You're entering, obviously, into budget season quite soon. How are you, thinking about some of these federal funding realities as you're putting together the budget?
So the question was about how am I thinking about the federal funding realities as we put together the budget. The biggest impact on the local budget is not, we can't plan for the unknown. Certainly there might be changes that we do not foresee, and we will have to deal with those. But we're basing the budget that we proposed to Metro Council this year based on what we know and what we expect to happen. There was a lot of one-time federal funding that came into our community through the American Rescue Plan. A lot of those funds went for one-time investments. Some of them went for programs. Those funds are now ending, and so decisions have to be made whether we continue to fund those with local tax dollars or whether those programs do not continue. So there are a couple programs related to violence prevention, for example, that we're looking at in that area. There are a couple programs like that. That is the bigger focus with respect to federal funding right now as I finish up the preparations for the budget proposal that I'll have to Metro Council towards the end of this month.
Mayor, last weekend there was gunfire at Waterfront Park, and it happened when there was large crowds downtown. The Young Center had a concert at Slugger Field, and there was a large police response. What is the city doing to ensure that that area, that park, Waterfront Park, is safe going into the spring and the summer?
The question was, what is the city doing to ensure that Waterfront Park is safe going into the spring and the summer? Well, as anyone who saw or is aware of what happened on Friday night at Waterfront Park, I am incredibly proud of the police response to what started out as a fight to prevent anything worse from happening than what did. And so we responded quickly, we responded effectively, and we were able to disperse that crowd without further incident. We have added additional officers to Waterfront Park right now that are working overtime. We've also added a couple additional officers to the Playport. If you have not visited the Playport, that is a great spring break activity, the new westward expansion of Waterfront Park. So there are, particularly during the evening hours and the weekend, there are additional police presences throughout Waterfront Park, at the Playport, and in downtown in general. We want to make sure that any family, anyone who wants to enjoy Waterfront Park or any of our parks can do so safely. That's why we continue to invest in more lights, why we continue to invest in more cameras. We just started the Park Ranger program. I'm very excited to soon announce we have a director of the Park Ranger program that really is going to put that program into existence that's focused on safety for everyone. This is a huge concern and focus of ours. I'm pleased with the response on Friday night, and I'm pleased that LMPD is stepping up to ensure that Waterfront Park, Playport, and downtown continue to have expanded presences.
Can I ask a question of Ms. Strozier?
Sure.
Can you give us an idea, Elizabeth, of where these folks are being relocated to? Is it similar housing units? And also, second part, do you have set a date to try to get the remaining 50% out of those buildings, to get those buildings down?
Yes, I'll start with the second part of your question. The question is, can I give an idea of where people are relocating to from Dosker Manor? And the second part was, is there a date at which we want to have everyone relocated? Our goal is to have everyone relocated from Dosker by the end of this calendar year. So right now, our numbers are working in our favor. We are on track to hit that goal. But each move, it's not just a number. It's not just something that we're ticking off. This program, this relocation plan, is very intense. So people are working with relocation specialists. They do a one-on-one survey so we can learn where do they want to go, what type of housing, do they want a voucher or another public housing unit, what part of town do they need to stay in, what kind of services do they have that they need to keep, what kind of services do they need that they're not getting. So then they work with housing navigators, and again, we have our housing navigation team here to help find the right location for them. So right now, most Dosker relocatees are moving into other public housing units. That's what they've chosen. They want to stay with LMHA as a landlord. And all of the units, all of the sites are in better shape than Dosker Manor. Our promise was a better housing solution for everybody. But we have more and more residents now who are getting a Section 8 voucher, and they're renting in the private market with help of the housing navigation team to find a new location. We have a partnership with Happy Home Furniture Bank in Jeffersonville, Indiana. So for folks who need new furniture for whatever reason, a bug infestation or something like that, we help them get new furniture. And we also have a number of partners that we support through project-based vouchers. And we have several residents slated to move into those units as well. I'm sorry? We also pay for moving expenses, and we give people a stipend as well. I'm sorry? What is the number of people still living? So, 330. Thanks, Jalen. It's not a lot. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Have a great week, and we'll continue to stay in touch about the weather.